Thank you for joining me, Ashwyn Mberi, on NMH at 1, where we highlight news making waves in Namibia and beyond, ranging from current affairs to community stories, sports and economic news. Coming up in this broadcast, the Institute for Public Policy Research says that Cabinet should not be involved in the appointment of the Central Procurement Board of Namibia Chief Executive Office. OK Foods workers who were recently involved in a strike in Rundu held a press conference to express their dissatisfaction with the management for suspending all 109 workers involved in the strike. And the African National Congress appears to be on course to lose the parliamentary majority it has held for 30 years, as partial results from South Africa's national election showed this morning. Follow all our programs on oneup2.com, DSTV 285 and GoTV 25 in Namibia. Let's get into the midday news update. The Minister of Urban and Rural Development, Erastus Uthoni, announced a $14.2 million Namibian project to install high mast lights in Windhoek's informal settlements. He further emphasized on prioritizing the development of informal settlements.
In the future, when you get old, your children are well taken care of. And this is what we need to take into consideration. So I'm appealing now to those who are alongside the road that is to be constructed to cooperate, to render your cooperation. The Minister of Urban and Rural Development is prepared if you happen to get a land. Your Worship, please prepare a land where these people are removed, so that we can also provide and add money to provide services. I've already spoken to him last week. Was it last week? Last week, Friday, I told him we are ready to support. As long as we are cooperating, then we can work together and then we can service a land. And you'll be one of the luckiest person to be given a land. He just do you understand what I'm saying? Boy, Governor Mecha, how can I say it in Afrikaans? Yeah?
Visual News highlights local stories from across Namibia right after the break.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Professor Geoffrey E. Kiyangi, rector at Triumphant College, welcomed parents and graduates to the 18th graduation ceremony today, and in congratulating the students, he shared a message of encouragement.
It is with profound joy and a deep sense of pride that I welcome you all to Triumphant College's 18th graduation ceremony. Today, we celebrate the remarkable achievement of 1,125 students who have dedicated themselves to the pursuit of knowledge spanning across certificates, diplomas, and degrees. Each of you graduates stand as a testament of the transformative power of education and the boundless potential that education unlocks. As Kofi Annan once eloquently said, knowledge is power, information is liberating, education is the premise of progress in every society and every family. This powerful statement underscores the elevating impact of education on individuals and societies. Today, you, our graduates, are armed with this formidable weapon. You are the change makers, the innovators, and the leaders of tomorrow, ready to contribute meaningfully to the fabric of our society. Thus, your education is not just a personal achievement, but a foundation for contributing to broader societal achievement. Triumphant College, now celebrating its 18th year, has itself undergone significant growth and transformation. From humble beginnings, we have evolved into an institution of repute with the current enrollment of about 7,000 students. Our journey mirrors the resilience and adaptability that we strive to instill in our students. As an integral part of the government in socio-economic activities, we are committed to aligning our programs with the developmental needs of our country.
All right, continuing with visual news, OK Foods workers who were recently involved in a strike in Rundu held a press conference this morning to express their dissatisfaction with the management for suspending all 109 workers involved in the strike. This action was taken despite an agreement reached with the Labour Commission to increase workers' salary by $390 Namibian following their recent protest.
We reached the deadlock. We set up to sign the rules of the strike, which were being signed by both parties voluntarily. Agree to the rules and sign it voluntarily, and the strike rules indicate all the processes, what should be done by the workers during the strike and what should be done by the employer during the strike. So the strike has been embarked on the 13th May and was being resolved on the 23 May. Resolved through the settlement agreement. The settlement agreement party has been agreed to what will be the new benefit or salary for the workers, that resulting the employees to be given the $390 at the time we resolve the strike. But at the time we start the strike, the employer were having zero on the table. Now the agreement has been resolved or dissolve the strike.
Let's get into the newspaper review, starting with Namibian Sun. The Independent Patriots for Change has accused a newly formed party, Action for Democracy movement, of fraudulently using names and signatures of IPC members in order to meet the Electoral Commission of Namibia's registration requirements. This after ECN issued a notice in the Government Gazette on 18 April informing the public about an application by ADM to be gazetted as a political party. According to the notice, 4,060 registered voters gave consent for the formation of the new party. However, there have been complaints by many people who say they did not give consent for the party to be registered. They accuse the ECN and ADM of fraudulently using their names, voter registration numbers, as well as their signatures. For the successful conservation of biodiversity in the Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area, programs should always incorporate community-based natural resource management and the sustainable use of those resources for the benefit of local communities. This according to Environment and Tourism Minister Pohamba Shifeta, who was speaking at a ministerial meeting at the Kaza TFCA Summit in Livingstone, Zambia. Having kicked off this week, the summit brings together leaders from Angola, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia and Zimbabwe and will draw to a close tomorrow. Let's move over to Republicana. Parents from Walvish Bay have been warned not to register their children for pre-primary and first grade just days before the enrollment process starts or to line up in front of schools. If they do so, their children will not be considered for enrollment. This warning was issued by Teresia Hoahoses, the District Inspector of Education in Walvish Bay, during a community meeting held this week. It appears to be a common occurrence in Walvish Bay for parents to camp out days before the enrollment process begins in an attempt to secure a placement for their children. Residents of Ndama's informal settlements, Sun City and Long in Rundu have been without drinking water since September last year. This has driven them to cut water pipes in a desperate attempt to access this scarce resource. Many residents are forced to travel long distances to fetch water, often facing dangerous situations, especially at night where they may encounter crime. The spokesperson for the group, David Nekaro, said during a media conference in Ndama, the taps went dry in September 2023. In Algamana Zeitung, an Ineos Grenadier caught fire on Tuesday afternoon about 11 kilometers north of the northern entrance to Kadum National Park. Thank God we arrived at the right time. We were able to save the two occupants who were in shock. With shovels and lots of sand, we quickly managed to bring the fire under control, and Shivute urged boys to support girls and understand their natural menstrual cycle. During a menstrual hygiene day celebration at Ipindi High School in Omutia, Shivute said that boys often embarrass girls when they have their periods, causing them to stay away from school. Shivute emphasized that it is a boy's responsibility to ensure that girls feel secure during lessons. He also encouraged schools to educate children to remove the stigma around menstruation. We must ensure that free sanitary pads are available in schools, Shivute added. We'll be back as we continue with the Namibian newspaper.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Let's continue our newspaper review with the Namibian front page. The Institute for Public Policy Research says that Cabinet should not be involved in the appointment of the Central Procurement Board of Namibia Chief Executive Officer. IPPR researcher Frederico Links says the recent appointment process for the CEO of the CPBN has been mired in political interference, compromising the independence of the board in the process. Links was speaking at the launch of the Procurement Tracker Namibia 24 event in Windhoek, titled Data Deficit Undermines Governance and Oversight. Looking at page 3, a group of 73 Angolan nationals, including minors and their mothers, were repatriated to Angola this week. The children and their mothers were temporarily accommodated at the Ondangwa National Youth Service Center before their repatriation. Ministry of Home Affairs, Safety and Security Executive Director Etienne Maritz, in a media statement, said a significant step was taken when the concerned individuals were handed over to the Angolan authorities for their safe return to the country. Looking at New Era's front page, political parties and traditional leaders believe the recently proclaimed Genocide Remembrance Day will fundamentally change the attitude and dialogue of the Namibian government with its German counterparts in the ongoing 1904 to 1908 genocide negotiations. Cabinet announced the proclamation of 28 May as the official National Genocide Remembrance Day, and it will be formally commemorated from next year. On page 3, The Windhoek High Court issued a final interdict preventing 26 dismissed Namib Mills employees from quote-unquote harassing the company or coming within 70 meters of any of its premises countrywide. The decision follows an incident in which the workers, accompanied by social activist Michael Amshelelo, blocked the entrance of the Namib Mills depot in Windhoek. Let's look at Market Watch. Anglo-American on Wednesday rejected BHP Group's last-ditch request for more time to discuss a $49 billion takeover offer, dismissing it as a highly complex and likely ending a 5-week pursuit by the bigger rival. Anglo had granted BHP a 1-week extension until 4 p.m. on Wednesday to its original 22 May deadline to submit a binding offer after rejecting a third takeover proposal that it dismissed as difficult to execute. BHP still has until then to make a firm offer or walk away. It did not immediately respond to a request for comment, but has previously indicated it would not make a hostile bid. BHP's shares closed flat on Wednesday. Anglo's were little changed at 10:45 GMT. London-listed Anglo agreed to hold talks with BHP to try to iron out concerns over the structure of the proposed deal, namely its condition that Anglo unbundle its South African platinum and iron ore units before the takeover. Now, Africa's economic growth is set to accelerate to 3.7% this year. More on this in economic news after the break.
Are you tired of just hanging around at home while waiting for something to do? Check out eticket.diary.my.na for what's hot on the social scene across the country. Or if you're arranging an event you'd like us to feature, contact Jareen at we.com.na. We can sell your tickets too.
Africa's economic growth is set to accelerate to 3.7% this year and 4.3% next, from 3.1% in 2023. African Development Bank President Akinwumi Adesina said, expressing hope that the bank can boost infrastructure investment with IMF help. African economies are experiencing great resilience despite the challenges posed by climate change, geopolitical tensions, global inflation, rising debt, among others, Adesina told the annual meeting of the bank. Reuters reports.
Right here in Kenya, when I came to see His Excellency President Ruto, he talked about our support making a huge difference at the State House. As he mentioned to me, President Ruto mentioned to me that when I visited, he says, thanks to the African Development Bank, we increased the number of households in Kenya that have access to connectivity to electricity from 2.5 million to 10 million by 2023. The African Development Bank has consistently invested in infrastructure. In the past 9 years, we have invested over $50 billion in infrastructure projects on the continent. We are raising $3.2 billion for the East Africa Standard Gauge Railway connecting Tanzania, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Burundi.
The African National Congress appears to be on course to lose the parliamentary majority it has held for 30 years, as partial results from South Africa's national election showed this morning. We return with news from Africa after this.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraifa. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
All right, let's get into South Africa's election. The African National Congress appears on course to lose the parliamentary majority it has held for 30 years. Partial results from South Africa's national election showed in what would be the most dramatic political shift since the end of apartheid. With results in from 11.3% of polling stations, the ANC's share of the vote on Wednesday's election stood at 42.8%, with the pro-business Democratic Alliance on 25.6% and the Marxist Economic Freedom Fighters on 8.3%. 3%, data from the Electoral Commission showed. If the final results were to resemble the early picture, the ANC would be forced to make a deal with one or more other parties to govern, a situation that could lead to unprecedented political volatility in the coming weeks or months. The South African rand fell 1% against the US dollar in early Johannesburg trade today, hitting its weakest in 4 weeks. Based on the early results, the ANC is projected to have roughly 42% of the vote when the count is over, according to the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, which was providing projections to the state broadcaster, SABC. Stay with us as we swing over to international news, talking AI for Good Global Summit.
E-Ticket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nmh.com.na.
The AI for Good Global Summit commenced with its highly anticipated Governance Day, marking a significant step in the ongoing efforts to harness artificial intelligence for societal benefit. Organized by the International Telecommunication Union, the first day saw discussions among AI experts and government leaders on critical issues surrounding AI governance. Here is the Secretary General of the International Telecommunication Union, Doreen Bogdan-Martin, addressing the first day of the AI for Good Summit, Reuters reports.
TU, as many of you know, is the UN Agency for Digital Technologies, and we have been working to harness AI for good. Because it's not the benefits, it's the risks of artificial intelligence that keep us all awake at night. So much has been said about AI governance in the media, in academic circles, from startups to tech giants, from local governments all the way to the United Nations, which recently adopted a historic resolution that recognized AI's potential to advance the SDGs. But ladies and gentlemen, at the heart of all of this is a conundrum. How do we govern
2K has secured the official license from FIFA to create
if we don't yet know their full potential? There is no one answer to that question, but what we do know is that we have been there before. It was 20 years ago. The internet was met with a sort of similar mix of shock, awe, skepticism. It raised the same questions about how our economies, our societies, our environment would transform for better and for worse. And we're still grappling with those questions 2 decades later. So we've been surveying the AI landscape, understanding how it might evolve. We've been looking at how to implement. A third of humanity is actually never, ever connected. These many complex questions. It is risky, and it is ethically precarious to be in this kind of position for humanity. So, ladies and gentlemen, we must work towards an inclusive environment where diverse perspectives, including those on gender, that was a key element raised this morning, including those on gender, are reflected in the policies that ring true to UN values.
Let's get into the local sport on NMH at 1. Looking at the NRU Rugby League, FNB Western Suburbs have their work cut out when they host a wooded FNB Kudu's rugby team on Saturday at Suburbs Park in Komastau. The Green and Whites have recorded only one win so far this season against 6 defeats and are placed 8th, one above the bottom of the log Simone Storm Dauphin with just 7 points from 7 matches. Unbeaten log leaders FNB UNAM dominated Suburbs by 57-11 last Saturday. Coach Jack Bock admits that his team is definitely not where they would normally be. Now, the top-ranked team Merrill Song Lions gave a good account of themselves and won the first ever Expedition Africa-Namibia adventure race in a time of 66 hours, 27 minutes. The all-South African team of Kelvin Troutman, Lance Kimme, Janae Dreyer and Martin Dreyer set the pace from the onset in the very demanding 8-stage event over an uncharted 490 kilometers in the Erongo region and were the first to arrive in the wee hours of Wednesday morning at the finishing point at Swakopmund Sands Hotel. And Namibian Football Association head of referees Erastus Shilunga has pleaded with club team managers to help maintain calmness during on-field decisions that they feel are going against them. Shilunga said the association does not condone wrong decisions made by referees and therefore has embarked on a strategy to introduce more refereeing courses. The head of referees in the country was speaking after various incidents involving football team members and referees emerged in the past couple of months. Stay with us as we swing over to international sport.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Olympiacos became the first Greek club to win a European title after defeating Fiorentina 1-0 after extra time in the Europa Conference League final last night. Moroccan striker Ayoub El Kabi scored the winning goal in the 116th minute that allowed Jose Luis Mendelba's side to make history in the home of local rivals AEK Athens. Prior to Olympiacos' success, Panathinaikos were the only club from Greece to make a European final when they lost to Johan Cruyff-inspired Ajax in the 1971 European Cup decider. Barcelona appointed former Bayern Munich and Germany boss Hansi Flick as coach on Wednesday on a deal which runs until June 2026 after sacking Xavi Hernandez last week. FC Barcelona and Hansi Flick have reached an agreement for the German to become men's first-team football coach until 2026, the club said in a statement. Flick, who led German giants Bayern to a historic sextuple of trophies in 2020, became the first coach ever to be sacked by the German national team in September 2023 after a string of bad results. And defending champion Iga Swiatek escaped from match point down against Naomi Osaka to reach the third round at Roland Garros yesterday, while Carlos Alcaraz overcame a scare of his own as persistent rain caused widespread disruption to the tournament. Swiatek outlasted fellow four-time Grand Slam winner Osaka 7-6, 7-1, 1-6, 7-5 in a breathtaking second-round clash, livening a gloomy day in which 23 singles matches were postponed until Thursday today. World number one Swiatek won the last 5 games of the match to keep her bid for a third successive Roland Garros title on track. Justine Henin was the last woman to achieve this feat 2005-7. She is attempting to become only the 4th woman in the Open era to lift 4 Roland Garros titles and just the 2nd after Serena Williams. Stay with us as we swing over to the highlights. The African National Congress has appeared to be on course to lose the parliamentary majority in South Africa. We'll be